Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, guys, what's next for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Obviously, that next big thing are the playoffs, but there's still a lot of time between now and the playoffs, and there's still a lot of things that the Maple Leafs need to do to make sure that they are ready for those playoffs. So in today's video, we're going to be going over what we can expect from them between now and the end of the regular season, but I guess we really should talk about the game last night first. And we really do feel for the Canucks. You just have to, especially with the situation that they're put into. But for the Toronto Maple Leafs heading into this game, it's the first game that the Vancouver Canucks have played since coming out of protocol. So they don't really have their lungs or their legs under them. And at this point, it's a lose-lose situation for the Leafs. They win the game and they get no praise for picking up the 2 points or anything positive that they do throughout the games because the Canucks are coming out of that protocol. They lose the game to the Canucks. And, well, they just lost to a bunch of guys who are coming out of protocol and aren't really in the best of game shape. So naturally, as they always do, they found the worst possible thing that they could do, and that was lose the game, but heavily outplay the Canucks throughout. They dominated the shot attempt share, they dominated the actual shots, they dominated the scoring chances, they dominated the high danger shot attempt share. They just didn't execute. And according to MoneyPuck.com, if you play this game 1,000 times with all the similar underlying numbers, the Maple Leafs should win 8 out of 10 times. But of course, this is the 2 out of the 10 that they don't. If the Leafs continue to play this way and have these results at 5-on-5, they will win a lot of hockey games. They absolutely peppered the Canucks in terms of the scoring chances here. And Braden Holtby's performance needs to be commended because he was absolutely amazing in this game for Vancouver. Braden Holtby, like we already said, played absolutely amazing in this game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and in terms of Jack Campbell's play over the last little while, hasn't necessarily been the best, but it's only been a couple of games. If this persists between now and the end of the regular season, yeah, it's going to be something that I'm going to be worried about, but we don't expect it to as of now. You know, and I have no idea what's wrong with that at this point. They've tried changing up the personnel. They've tried changing up the philosophy, going from a balanced approach to stacking up the top unit. A lot of people are hyper-focused on the zone entries and them not using Nylander as much on those because, as you can see, Nylander is very good at gaining the offensive blue line, and he's very good on a power play. People think that he should have a much bigger role there. But ultimately, to expect the Maple Leafs to be this bad on the power play just indefinitely is not likely. There's way too much talent on this power play to be as bad as it has been, but it is a problem at this point, and it is costing them games. And until we see it improve back to a point where we expect it to be, which in my eyes should at least be top 10 in the league, in terms of the talent that's on it, it's going to be a point that people focus on. And the only reason why they were on that 5-minute major power play to begin with was because Alex Edler need Zach Hyman. And as of 1:19 p.m. on April the 19th, this is the latest update that we have on Zach Hyman. He was very positive in the room, very optimistic. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. There is no rivalry between these two teams, and for you to want the Maple Leafs to have responded back in that game, considering the Canucks' situation, would have been Bush League. If they respond in a game further down the road, fine, that's whatever. If they don't, we'll talk about it then. But there's no rivalry between these two teams, and in reality, the Toronto Maple Leafs should not concern themselves with the Vancouver Canucks, because the two teams are just not in the same stratosphere. No matter the outcome of this, if there's another game this season with Alex Edler and the Vancouver Canucks and the Toronto Maple Leafs involved into it, there needs to be some type of response. I'm sorry, you can't just take out your third or fourth best player this season and you not have a response at all. Whether that's in the formality of a fight or something else, I don't know, work it out. If you wanted to really avenge Zach Hyman, the best thing that you could have done was score 8 goals on that ensuing 5-minute major and yell woo every single time the light turned red. I'm not talking about anything predatory, right? You start doing that crap and the situation goes from here to here to here to here, and then it turns into Nazem Kadri versus the Boston Bruins, and nobody wants that. But back to what I wanted to make this video about, and that's what's next for the Toronto Maple Leafs. What are they doing to prepare for the playoffs, basically? And it's stuff like this. It's not the best team that most often wins the Stanley Cup. It's the healthiest, most rested team that has the most depth. The fact of the matter is, as long as the results are encouraging and positive, I don't really care if they finish first in the North Division or not. Yeah, it would be awesome. It would be cool to have those bragging rights, but I don't really care because that's not our goal. That's not our end goal. All right. You don't get a banner. Well, I guess you do get a banner, but we don't care about that banner. We don't care about first in the Scotia North Canadian, whatever the hell you want to call it, division. We don't care about that. We want to win the Stanley Cup. And in order to do that, we need everyone as healthy and as rested as we can possibly get them for the playoffs. Because the playoffs are a war, and we need to be ready to go to war. If you haven't seen my video talking about what I think the Toronto Maple Leafs' lines for the playoffs should be if everyone was 100% healthy, I will leave that linked above the screen. But I will add to it in this video. And my playoff lineup doesn't have Joe Thornton in it, and that's because of the way that he's played over the last month or two when he's not stapled to Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. But if there's a mutual understanding between Jason Spezza and the team that Jason Spezza, who's younger than Joe Thornton, can't play all of the games over the course of a regular season, especially one like this year where it's more condensed and there's more back-to-backs, why isn't there that mutual understanding with Joe Thornton? I mean, earlier in the season, the Maple Leafs were so tight to the salary cap that they could not afford to give Jason Spezza the days off that he requested, and that's why he was placed on waivers, to be able to afford to give him days off every once in a while. But why isn't there that mutual understanding with Joe Thornton? And if Joe Thornton doesn't understand that at 41 years old, he needs a couple of days off here and there to be the most effective player that he can be, well, then maybe they shouldn't have signed him in the first place. But I doubt that that's the case, right? At 41 years old, I assume that Joe Thornton understands that. At least I hope so. So over the course of the next month or so, because remember, the end of the regular season got pushed from May the 8th until May the 16th, and the playoffs, more than likely, gonna start a couple of days after that. I got a really interesting question in the comments section a couple of videos ago that I want to touch on, or just post to you guys, just basically talk out my thinking here. If the end of the regular season was pushed back from May the 8th to May the 16th to accommodate the games for the Vancouver Canucks, do you need to be cap compliant for those games? I would think not, because it's not fair to ask a team to budget from January to 13th to May 8th, right? It's a very specific set amount of days that you need to navigate the salary cap for, and then in the playoffs, the salary cap doesn't count anymore. It's not fair to just extend that and expect teams to have to budget for an extra week or so, because some teams like the Leafs, they got Freddie Anderson on LTIR right now. You know, he could be ready between May the 8th and May the 16th. And if he has to come off of LTIR, they got to fudge with their entire roster, basically. And this is not just for the Leafs. This is for other teams as well. I mean, they play the Senators and they play the Jets past that May 8th date. I would think that they don't have to be salary cap compliant. I wouldn't think that that's fair, but who knows? So am I upset about the Zach Hyman injury? Yes. Should they have avenged him? Yeah, they should have scored 8 power play goals on the ensuing 5-minute major. Should they do anything predatory in the next game where Alex Edler's in the lineup? No. Should they have done anything in that game? No. That's Bush League. You don't do that against the team that is coming back from what the Vancouver Canucks are coming back from. Between now and May 16th, there's about 27 days or so before the start of the playoffs. Let's just say it's a month. If Zach needs that month off to get 100%, he needs that month. If it's longer than that, they might be in trouble. He's their 4th best player this year. He's their 4th best player. And the Leafs do have depth, but they don't have replace Zach Hyman type depth. And Nick Robertson has played well. He's played well in a couple of games. He's gotten an opportunity to play more ice. He's got a chance to play with John Tavares and William Nylander. I think that he should have a bigger role on the power play because he's got a bomb of a shot and he's really tenacious on the puck and he's a quick, speedy guy on the zone entries as well. It would be really nice if Zach Hyman is going to be out for about a month or so, or even if it's a couple of weeks. It'd be really nice to know what we have in Nick Robertson moving forward. I would have liked to have found that out without losing Zach Hyman, of course. But at least we'll know now what we have in Nick Robertson before the playoffs start. There's silver linings in everything, right? So if Zach Hyman is not ready to go for a while, these are the lines that I would run with. You need to give Nick Robertson, if you're going to assess him properly, you need to play him in a realistic role. It can't just be on the fourth line with Engvall and Simmons. It just can't be. So I know that Nick Foligno left Ohio and he was driving on the 13th, and it's 7 days. So depending on how the league counts it, if it's the day after he arrives or if they're counting that first initial travel date, he's either going to be ready to play in the Maple Leafs' lineup on Tuesday against the Vancouver Canucks or on Thursday against the Jets. I'm excited to see what Nick Foligno is going to bring to this lineup and the type of role that the Maple Leafs have in mind for him. So basically, whatever the lines look like between now and the end of the regular season, the main goal, the main objective for the Toronto Maple Leafs is not finishing first in the North Division. It is making sure that everyone is 100% ready to go, and if it's not 100%, as close as they possibly can be to go to war when playoff time hits. So if Matthews needs a day off, he needs a day off. If Tavares needs a day off, he needs a day off. If Marner needs a day off, give it to him. If you need to rest Jack Campbell and you need to roll with David Rittich for a little while, I wouldn't mind that. You give David Rittich a little bit of an extended tryout. The Leafs need a new goalie next season anyway. Whatever it is, the next most important thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs is making sure that they are as healthy as they possibly can be heading into this year's playoffs. It never was, will be, or is about being the best possible team that you could be to start the regular season, throughout the regular season, or even at the trade deadline, or in the home stretch that we're in right now. It's about being the best possible team you can be when the puck drops for round one, game one of the playoffs, and then it's about sustaining that throughout. So I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see some wacky lineups. I mean, they switched Justin Holl and TJ Brody just because, I guess, and if you've been watching the videos over the last while, you'd know that I want the Maple Leafs to have a really good shutdown deep pairing and not have to play Morgan Rielly in high leverage defensive minutes, especially later on in the game when maybe you're up by a goal or two. And maybe if you find out if Jake Muzzin and TJ Brody have chemistry together, maybe you can make that a pairing when it matters the most. You need to be able to find out what combinations work and what combinations don't, because you don't want to be put in a position come playoff time where you're forced to dive into the unknown. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, remember, it's about being the best possible version of yourself when it matters the most.